Today's headlines. The Department of National Defense reiterates the need to extend martial law to suppress terrorism in Mindanao. The Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology recommends measures to reduce the impact of earthquakes in Metro Manila. Authorities call for vigilance as a policeman and 7 Marines are injured in explosions by unknown suspects. And the Philippines, Japan, and Indonesia win the bid to jointly host the 2023 FIBA World Cup. Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. The Department of National Defense defended the decision to extend martial law in Mindanao. It stressed the need to curb activities by terrorist sympathizers following the conflict in Marawi City. Here is our report.
The Department of National Defense said the extension of martial law in Mindanao is essential to completely curb threats from sympathizers of terror groups such as the ISIS-inspired Maute. Congress earlier extended martial law in Mindanao until year-end. DND Public Affairs Chief Arsenio Andolong said martial law will help government forces to continue their momentum in the campaign against terrorists and their sympathizers and to prevent them from regrouping. Andolong said the move is necessary to make sure that no terrorist remnants would impede rehabilitation efforts in the war-torn city. He revealed that terror threats still remain in Mindanao and other areas despite the fall of the Maute group. Meanwhile, Andolong echoed Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana's stand, saying there will be no holiday ceasefire with the CPP, NPA, and NDF. He says suspending military operations during Christmas, as per the yearly custom, will leave government troops vulnerable against members of the NPA who are expected to attack even during supposed periods of truce. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Rom Dulfo.
Former Health Secretary Enrique Ona distanced himself from the mess caused by the dengue immunization program implemented in 2016. Ona reacted to former DOH Secretary Janet Garin's remarks that discussion on the dengue vaccine started long before she became the Secretary of Health in 2015. He stressed that he already left DOH when officials decided to purchase Denvaxia for its dengue immunization program. Ona was the Secretary of Health from June 2010 to December 2014. He revealed that vaccine manufacturer Sanofi Pasteur requested a meeting with him several times regarding the clinical trial of their anti-dengue vaccine being tested in Southeast Asia and South America. Ona said he showed interest on the status of the clinical trials because dengue fever is rampant in the country. He was, however, aware that the vaccine was not yet ready for general use and it was still in a developmental stage when he left office. The Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology warns that congestion and concentrated activity will make Metro Manila vulnerable to earthquakes. PHIVOLC's Chief Renato Solidum said Metro Manila's decongestion is urgently needed to mitigate the impact of earthquakes in the metropolis. Among the decongestion measures that he suggested was dispersing economic activities to areas outside Metro Manila. Solidum also said Metro Manila structures must be assessed for structural integrity and strengthened if needed. He also recommended conducting regular earthquake drills and further disseminating information on earthquakes. Solidum said the West Valley Fault and Manila Trench could cause major earthquakes in Metro Manila and surrounding areas. The fault is already ripe for movement and can generate a magnitude 7.2 earthquake. The archipelagic Philippines lies within the Pacific Ring of Fire, referring to one of Earth's most geologically active areas. The medical intern who helped save a woman from the accident in MRT-3 was named as among the Department of Tourism's Women of Significance at the Sofitel Philippine Plaza, Manila on Saturday night. Charlene Handik saved a woman who fell off the tracks and lost her arm after being caught by the train in Ayala Station last November. The woman's arm was later on reattached. Handik said she hesitated to help at first, but her instinct as a medical intern prevailed. She said that people must understand acts of helping others should not come as a surprise. She, however, hopes that the accident brings to attention the need for emergency medical services in public places. Aside from Handik, 7 other women were recognized for making a difference in the community through their respective fields. The city of Taguig opened a new integrated urban farm to the public. The farm overlooking Laguna Lake sits on a 2,005-hectare land beside Lakeshore Hall in Barangay Lower Bicutan, Taguig. It integrates different kinds of urban farming setups, from gardens that showcase space-saving vertical farming to wooden rack and pole gardens. It has fruit-bearing lemon, avocado, chico, and strawberry trees, a pond with tilapia and catfish, and a greenhouse for lettuce and salad greens. It also showcases a coffee shop that uses farm produce, a floating barge, and a bamboo classroom. City Agriculture Office OIC Emelita Solis said opening a farm in an urban space shows that the city cares about agriculture and farming. Solis said that the creation of an integrated farm is also a way to encourage and inspire residents to engage in farming practices to contribute to the well-being of the environment. Still to come, the Philippines calls for inclusive globalization for local industries before the World Trade Organization. Authorities call for vigilance as a policeman and 7 Marines are injured in explosions by unknown suspects. These and more when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Building a nation can be likened to building blocks which form the foundation of society. Each block is meticulously placed and serves a particular purpose in the grand design. If a block is missing, the entire structure is in danger of tumbling down. And each day, we lose valuable blocks to the menaces pervading our society. Long has illegal drugs been poisoning our nation, and for the first time, the Philippines has trained its sights in stamping out this perennial problem once and for all, for the sake of the future, this nation's children, and their children to come. Presenting ICAD, the Interagency Committee on Anti-Illegal Drugs. Operating on the basis of Executive Order No. 15 signed by President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, ICAD is a means to harmonize the country's ongoing drive in law enforcement, justice, rehabilitation, reintegration, and advocacy. That way, there will be a comprehensive and holistic approach on the Filipino people's fight against illegal drugs. ICAD will accomplish this through Rehabilitacion, the country's all-encompassing campaign based on the 5 programs against illegal drugs of the Dangerous Drugs Board of the Philippines: supply reduction, demand reduction, alternative development, civic awareness and response, and regional and international cooperation. Through Rehabilitacion, we will become witness to the government's efforts in taking in, performing, and reintegrating into the community those who have lost their way because of the scourge of illegal drugs.
The government is pushing for inclusive globalization that will give industries equal footing in global trade and empower them to participate in the country's inclusive growth. Here is our report.
The Philippines is pushing for 3 key agenda for inclusive globalization as it participates in the 11th World Trade Organization Ministerial Conference in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez cited country's priorities in the WTO meeting. These include eliminating trade distorting domestic support and export subsidies, special safeguard mechanism for agriculture, and a ministerial decision on micro, small, and medium enterprises or MSME work program. Lopez will bat for inclusive global trade that will encourage participation of MSMEs in the global value chain. He emphasized the need for fair competition, especially those who are behind more developed countries. Lopez said the country is also pushing for the Doha Development Agenda, or DDA, the ministerial declaration in Doha, Qatar in 2001, to remain as the overall framework for WTO negotiations. He added that the DDA pushes for the need to discipline subsidies from developed countries to their agriculture and provide more effective temporary protection from price volatilities to poor farmers. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Chris Crismundo.
Japanese financial company Nomura tagged the Philippines, India, and Indonesia as Asia's new rising stars, as these are seen to boost the region's potential growth by at least 8% in 2018. A study by Nomura stated the Philippines is projected to grow its gross domestic product by 6.9% next year, while the domestic economy is expected to expand by 7.1% in 2019. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas is expected to increase key rates by a total of 100 basis points next year, as it projects inflation to go beyond the government's 2 to 4% target until 2019. The study also forecasted fiscal policies to remain expansionary in the Philippines. Nomura said the Philippines was considered a new rising star because of its enormous growth potential given the young demographics, lower rates of urbanization, and reforms on supply-side issues. Tours at the Puerto Princesa underground river stopped temporarily due to big waves. The staff of the Puerto Princesa Subterranean River National Park World Heritage Site said tours at the famous underground river would be stopped until the waves subsided. Guests were, however, allowed to continue exploring the park through its jungle trail. One of the river's distinguishing features is that it emerges directly into the sea and its lower portion is subject to tidal influences. The area represents a significant habitat for biodiversity conservation. It also features a spectacular limestone karst landscape with an underground river. Local officials of Upi town in Maguindanao appealed to the public to be vigilant following 2 consecutive explosions that injured a policeman and members of the Philippine Marines on Saturday. A rifle grenade exploded at a roadside police outpost past midnight, injuring a policeman. Members of the Philippine Marines who joined investigators in the scene were headed to home base when a roadside improvised bomb was detonated by still unidentified suspects. 7 Marines were injured. No group has claimed responsibility for both incidents. Upi Mayor Ramon Piang appealed to the public not to allow saboteurs to disrupt the peace and order of the town. The Philippine Coast Guard is leading search and rescue efforts for 3 fishermen who were lost at West Philippine Sea. The Coast Guard said rescuers have conducted search and rescue efforts since Friday night. The fishermen reportedly left for the West Philippine Sea on December 5. The boat carrying 5 crew members, including the 3 victims, was then hit by big waves about 30 miles from the shoreline of Infanta, Pangasinan. The 2 other members were found and rescued by volunteers. Up next, the Philippines, Japan, and Indonesia win the bid to jointly host the 2023 FIBA World Cup. Government agencies get together to entertain and provide services for displaced residents of Marawi City. These and more when the PNA Newsroom returns.
To make this goal a reality, Rehabilitación has a citizen engagement and volunteerism program in the form of Masamasid, mamamayang ayaw sa anomalya, mamamayang ayaw sa illegal na droga. Masamasid is a grassroots initiative of the Department of Interior and Local Government in providing an avenue for the people to participate in stamping out illegal drugs in the local communities. This effort is bolstered by the Department of Social Welfare and Development's Yakap Bayan initiative. Yakap Bayan seeks to turn recovering drug dependents into volunteers of the government's Disaster Resiliency and Response Program. Eventually, these volunteers will become advocates with the end goal of turning into leaders who will rise to the occasion during times of calamity and crisis. Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency is also tasked to strictly implement the Dangerous Drugs Act. The Department of Justice will make sure that all dangerous drugs-related cases are tried swiftly. For victims who have fallen prey to illegal drugs, the Department of Health has established the mega rehabilitation centers around the country that will take in thousands of drug dependents. Through generous private donors here and overseas, the mega rehab centers are fully equipped with state-of-the-art facilities and trained staff in helping our less fortunate countrymen through the road to recovery. The Department of Health shall provide aftercare programs to those who have successfully finished the rehabilitation program. The path towards rehabilitation includes real numbers and information provided only by the most reputable sources of facts that will help combat fake news and alternative facts. Real solutions that will stamp out the root problem once and for all. And real stories of the horrors wrought by illegal drugs, as well as stories of ordinary people overcoming these extraordinary challenges. You can be sure that the government will do its part as a caretaker of the nation in ensuring the growth of its people. As the saying goes, it takes a village to raise a child. In the same vein, it takes a nation to build a people. Rehabilitation. Rehabilitating the nation together.
The Davao City local government has barred traders of firecrackers and pyrotechnics from transporting their goods to nearby provinces from the city. Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio maintained that the ban on transporting of firecrackers and pyrotechnic devices through Davao City is still in effect. The Police Regional Office 11 Regional Civil Security Unit revealed that there have been inquiries whether they can get a permit to transport firecrackers through the city for Christmas and New Year. RCSU 11 Chief Superintendent Cedric Earl Tamayo reiterated that the city had banned firecrackers and that traders have to use alternate routes in areas that don't have bans. Tamayo also reminded local government units that do not have firecracker bans to identify designated areas for displaying, selling, and lighting fireworks. The ban aims to lessen firecracker-related injuries during the Yuletide season. The nagkakaisang lingkod bayan ng Davao Oriental Barangay Outreach Caravan reported having served a total of 50 villages that are seldom reached by government services. The NLD Outreach Caravan has already served over 150,000 beneficiaries since November 2016. The caravan provided free seedlings and farming tools for farmers, free medicines and medical services, government services such as employment and licenses, and advocacy campaigns such as illegal drugs and the environment. It also became a venue to identify the community's most urgent and long-term needs. Aside from services, the Outreach Caravan has been touted as an effective strategy in the province's peace and development efforts. Governor Nelson Dayanghirang thanked everyone who took part in bringing genuine services to the poor constituents of Davao Oriental. Dayanghirang is eyeing to cater at least 100 more villages by next year. The joint bid of the Philippines, Indonesia, and Japan gets the privilege of becoming the first set of nations to jointly host the FIBA World Cup. The Asian Consortium bested the South American bid of Argentina and Uruguay as announced during the FIBA Central Board meeting in Nice, Switzerland. This will be second time for the Philippines and Japan to host the FIBA World Cup, while Indonesia will host it for the first time. The host countries have lined up the venues for the 2023 FIBA World Cup as co-host nations Gilas Pilipinas, Indonesia, and Japan are assured of automatic spots in the 32-team pool for the main tournament. Government agencies led by the Philippine Information Agency and Task Force Bangon Marawi staged a day-long activity to provide assistance and entertainment for displaced families in Marawi City. Here is our report.
The Philippine Information Agency and Task Force Bangon Marawi led a one-of-a-kind activity which seeks to bring joy, impart Filipino values, and provide free services for the evacuees of Marawi. The activity was titled Mashwara, which figuratively means a gathering where a consensus is reached for the good of all. Government agencies and other groups gathered to help taper off the pain, uncertainty, and trauma that evacuees have been experiencing since the hostility began. The Armed Forces of the Philippines, the local government of Marawi, the Department of Health, and Department of Trade and Industry came together to provide entertainment and hope to the displaced residents. Among the activities were song and dance numbers for children, puppet shows and magic performances, free registration for birth, marriage, and death certificates, and free medical checkups and information dissemination on livelihood. The event took place in the various municipalities and barangays in Marawi City and in Iligan City and was considered a success. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Bench Bondo.
Pag-asa has noted 3 weather systems currently affecting the country. Pag-asa said the northeast monsoon will bring cloudy skies with isolated rains over Metro Manila, Cagayan Valley, Cordillera Region, Ilocos Region, Central Luzon, and the rest of Calabarzon. The tail end of a cold front will bring cloudy skies with scattered rain showers and isolated thunderstorms over Bicol Region, the provinces of Quezon, Mindoro, Marinduque, and Romblon. Visayas and Mindanao will experience cloudy skies with scattered rain showers and isolated thunderstorms due to an intertropical convergence zone. Let's now check out the weather forecast for Metro Manila and the rest of the country.
President Rodrigo Duterte has formally asked Congress to re-extend martial law in Mindanao from January 1 to December 31, 2018. In his December 8 letter to Senate President Aquilino Coco-Pimentel III and House Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez, the President said the recommendation for the full-year extension of martial law in Mindanao came from Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana, who said that second extension is necessary to fully eradicate the Daesh-inspired Da'awatul Islamiyah Waliyatul Masriq, or DIWM, and other like-minded local and foreign terrorist groups, including armed lawless groups and communist rebels and their coddlers, supporters, and financiers. The President said that DIWM members and its allies have been monitored in other areas like Maguindanao, North Cotabato provinces, and in Sulu and Basilan. The President said that aside from the DIWM, other groups being monitored are the Turaifi Group, the Bangsamoro Islamic Freedom Fighters, or BIFF, the Abu Sayyaf Group, and the New People's Army, all operating in various ports of Mindanao. Martial law in Mindanao was first declared by President Duterte on May 23, 2017. This was extended by Congress on July 22 until December 31, 2017. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Rom Dulfo.
Let's take another look at today's headlines. The Department of National Defense reiterates the need to extend martial law to suppress terrorism in Mindanao. The Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology recommends measures to reduce the impact of earthquakes in Metro Manila. Authorities call for vigilance as a policeman and 7 Marines are injured in explosions by unknown suspects. And the Philippines, Japan, and Indonesia win the bid to jointly host the 2023 FIBA World Cup. The holidays are coming soon. It's 14 days before Christmas. For more stories, please log on to www.pna.gov.ph or visit the PNA page on Facebook and Twitter. And that's your daily dose of the hottest news and the latest information that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. I'm William Theo. Good day.